In this week's episode, the topic is one that gets a lot of attention and sometimes debate among school owners: the rotating curriculum. Is it the key to keeping students engaged in classes consistent, or does it make it harder to build depth and mastery? Welcome to Black Belt Banter, the best podcast to help your martial arts school increase profits and generate substantial revenue. I'm Jimmy Hong. Joining us today is Master Philip Jeung, a second generation martial artist, sixth Dan Kuki One Black Belt, and MBA graduate from Fordham MBA School of Business. As a single school owner and lifelong martial art enthusiast, Master Jeung brings both practical experience and a sharp business perspective to how schools can structure their curriculum for long-term growth and success. We'll talk about the benefits, the drawbacks, and what it really takes to make the rotating curriculum work inside your martial arts program. Let's jump right into it. Welcome, Master Jeung. Majority of our audience, I'm sure, knows already the concept or what the rotating curriculum is, but can you just explain real quickly what is rotating curriculum?
Sir, first of all, thank you for having me on the show, Master Jimmy Hong. What a great podcast that you have here. I've listened to all the podcasts that you have pulled out. Great guests, great content,
Thank,
and
thank you.
and also what a great event we had this year. I think by far this was the best ASA summit uh, that I have been part of. It's just wonderful to be here, and it's an honor to be on the show. Thank you, sir.
It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure having you here, Master Chung. We've discussed many times. I wanted you on. I know you're very busy, and you're in Northeast location. Is that correct,
Yeah,
Master
yes,
Chung?
sir. Yes, sir. I'm in New York, so I'm about a hour north of the city. So we're in the suburbs of New York, sir.
How often do you go down to the city?
So my sister still lives there with her fiance. So I go down maybe, I would say once a month at least. Once a month, I'm down there
Oh, so
visiting. Yes,
quite often.
it's the best city in the
I
world.
live exactly every New Yorker says that. I I live exactly an hour south of LA in Orange
Oh
County,
yes.
Irvine. I do not go to Irvine, LA at all. I used to when I was your
Oh
age,
wow.
but not anymore.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't. It's just too hectic and too much energy.
You know what? I have to say though, I get a lot of inspiration about how to aesthetically decorate the interior of the dojang, or if something that I want to put on the wall, something creative, I go down to the city and I walk down Soho, or if I want to get really creative, then I go to Brooklyn, and I gain so much from just walking and browsing shops and seeing, because New York City has the newest trend. It's always something new is going on, right? So that's why I actually grab a lot of my inspiration from everything.
No,
Yeah.
that's a very unique perspective because I don't. When I go to LA, my whole thought process is like, oh, when do I leave? When do I leave? Because to me, I mean, when I talk to my friends who lives in LA, they're like, "Oh, we hate going down to Orange County." So it's just a matter of perspective. But no, that's very interesting how you get inspired. So when you go back, I mean, you're very fortunate to have such a major city right by you because then you get inspiration, and then you
Yes.
go back and apply it to your day to day. And anytime you need to get away from your daily routine, it's only an hour drive south. You're absolutely right.
Yes. You know, a lot of it, my father, he doesn't like going down to the city, but I love it because that's where I gain my inspiration. And that's where also we sometimes come to a disagreement in things like rotating curriculum. Right? My father's a traditionalist. For those of you that do not know, I grew up as second generation under my father. He was my main teacher. And the linear approach of curriculum was how we have always done it, right? Rotating curriculum was something completely new. For those of you that don't not too familiar with the rotating curriculum, the main idea behind rotating curriculum is that everyone in a specific class is working on the same content or same curriculum towards a certain set testing date. So You could have a white belt, yellow belt, and orange belt in the same class working on one curriculum. And with that curriculum, they would test on their upcoming testing. So that's the basic gist of the rotating curriculum. The linear approach, which does work, I have seen very successful school still working the linear approach. And there are some advantages to the linear approach and also disadvantages. In my opinion, the linear approach, it's a little bit more easier to understand for the parents. So when I explain to the parents, hey, your child is going to work at this white belt at his pace or her pace and work our way up to yellow. And once they graduate and promote from yellow, they're going to go to green and so on. So it's, for the parent, it's very easy to understand. And for students,
Speaking of, I'm sorry to
yes,
interrupt.
sir.
Speaking of parents, though, when you switched from traditional to rotating, did you have any pushback from the parents?
Oh yeah, you know
Did
that
they have any objections?
I think the transition from the linear model to the rotating model can be painful if not done right. And that's one of the disadvantages of going to the rotating curriculum. But in the long run, I think it will be great. But in that short period of time, the transition has to be done very smoothly. It has to be thought out. You can't just switch over all in one day. My approach in the switch was I started actually with my black belts. I tried the rotating curriculum out with my black belts, with my black belt curriculum. Once that has been kind of solidified, and then I worked my way back up from the white belts. So I didn't start this rotating curriculum all at once. It was implemented for my black belts first, and then I went all the way back to my white belt, and I started with my white belt. But going back to some of the disadvantages of the linear curriculum was that it was very inefficient for me to move between multiple groups during curriculum time. Because class goes great in the beginning. You get them fired up, everyone's warming up, we have some kicking drills, we're kicking targets. And then when it gets curriculum time, everything falls apart. You need extra staff here and there to run the forms. You need to also monitor small groups of young children, so they need that supervision. So you're going all over the place to run this curriculum in your class, and it just became too chaotic.
Especially when you have classes full.
Yes.
That's right. Especially when you have an intermediate class, which is from whatever green belt through brown belt, and then you got to teach 3장, 4장, 5장, 6장 all throughout at the same time. And when you don't have leaders and staff and assistant instructors with instructors able to divide and conquer the belt levels, you're absolutely right. That is a definite drawback to the linear model. Going back real quick to the parents, what are some of the parents' objective, what they brought up when you converted and switched to the rotating
No,
curriculum?
actually,
And how can
yeah.
current school owners overcome that objective and overcome what the parents pushback and what parents criticism that they brought up?
Okay. So one of the objective that was brought up was actually brought up by my father too. Was if you
Mm,
have white, yellow, orange, sometimes even green, right? Because usually they have four belts within the cycle. Then you're devaluing the hierarchical structure of the belt system. Then why do you have a different color belt in the first place if you're learning the same curriculum? Why not just have a white belt and a white belt with black stripe in the middle, white belt with two black stripe in the middle, and white belt with three black stripe in the middle, right? Why why do you have a
that's a
green belt?
great point.
Right? You're learning the
I'm excited to learn that answer. That's a great point.
so
Your father is a very smart man.
so he said your model was great, but you got to work out the kinks because at the end of the day you're going to have to answer some hard questions. So what I did was first I looked at the bigger picture. Bigger picture was what is the overall experience that I would like my parents, my students, and most importantly my staff to want to have when they come to the dojo. And when it came testing time, it was so stressful for my staff to be able to get everyone ready for testing, right? We're always juggling so many different things, and then you implement new students coming in. It threw the whole thing apart. Right? So how I did it,
Wait, are you saying your staff was stressed with the linear model or the rotating curriculum? Which
the
part were they stressed at?
linear model, because within one class we'll have 4 belts, but within 4 belts we're teaching 4 different curriculum, and they're all
Yes.
at their individual pace. So some of them are ready to test and some of them are not, and some of them we will have to push to get ready to test, right? So how I approached that model was, you know what, the hierarchical structure in taekwondo, in all martial art, I think it's very important and it should be valued and it should not be discredited. So what I did was, I have white, yellow, orange, and green senior in one class, and then in another beginner class I have white and yellow in one class. So white and yellow will have their own curriculum where they rotate, and then green and green senior will have their one curriculum where they rotate. So in my school, there are classes where white and yellow come separately. From white and yellow, green senior will come together. But within that togetherness, there's only 2 curriculums that are running. So there is the structural difference between what the white and yellow is learning and the green senior is learning. But at the same time, it's a combination, because when it comes to curriculum self-defense and board breaking, we combine everything. We combine a small part of their curriculum together, but another small part is separated. As they cycle out of the beginner stages, which is white and yellow, and go to green and green senior, right? There is a difference in what they're learning, but only half the section, which is the forms, is very different. But the rest of it, one-step sparring, your board breaking, your kicking techniques, they're all the same. So that's how I still kept a little bit of an integrity between how we're going to separate the higher ranks with the lower ranks and what they're learning.
Okay, so the each belt had separate forms, or each belt had all the color, all the yellow through green had the same form rotating together.
So normally in a traditional rotating curriculum, you'll have white, yellow, green senior, and they'll work on one form,
Yes.
right? And then they'll
Yes,
test
yes,
all
yes,
together with that
yes.
cycle. What I did was I broke off these two
Yes.
like this. I broke them off.
Oh, so
It's a
they had two different
Yeah,
forms
it's a
in that
2 different
rotating.
forms. It's a split of rotating
Gotcha.
curriculum. So it's a little bit
Gotcha, gotcha,
confusing
gotcha.
if you don't see it in action, but it works at our school. And I think when you put all
Gotcha.
this set into mind, you have to say, you know what, rotating curriculum, I'm going to try it. It's going to work. No, it doesn't work that way. I tried it. I just put it in there, tried it. It didn't work. There are many things that need to gear together to make the rotating curriculum work. First is your class schedule. How are you currently dividing up your rank size, time layout, etc.? Then it's your current staff. How many current staff do you have in hand at the current moment? And then your pricing and your program structure. How are you integrating your pricing and program structure into your curriculum? And then most importantly, and this is where I made the mistake, is your fixed environment. A big school like 10,000 square feet, and a small school, my school is very small, it's 2,500 square feet. We have two very different fixed environment. You can't compare the two. And I didn't understand how important this fixed environment came into play until I began to implement some of the changes. Closed barriers. Some dojangs have a completely closed system. You can't hear a word from the lobby to the what do you call it, to the mat, right? Some schools have an open system where mat to the floor is just flush, right? All these small things play into play. But when they all come together, the synergy that it creates, it's unstoppable. It's actually very contagious. The parents would want to come in and join in. So it's how you really make it work right.
Attention, all martial arts school owners. Are you ready to make next year your biggest year yet? Introducing ASA Live, monthly interactive coaching designed to help you grow, lead, and scale your school like never before. Our next live session kicks off with a powerful topic: 10 must do marketing events to explode your school in 2026. Learn exactly how to plan, promote, and execute the 10 events that will consistently attract new students, boost retention, and drive steady revenue. Every single month, join Master Chan Lee, Master Tony Chung, and the team behind Black Belt Banner podcast. Proven leaders who have helped schools nationwide grow through strategy, structure, and systems that actually work. Don't miss the opportunity to start your next year with a clear game plan. Sign up for ASA Live today. It's only $97 a month and you could cancel anytime. Visit asamartialarts.com/live to join today and let's explode your martial arts school's marketing growth. Well, I'm thinking I could see how it's smaller versus bigger school owner, but for smaller school owners, single school operators that have, let's say, less than 200 students, this is perfect for them, right? Because they don't have a big staff along with them. They can teach whether they're at the basic program class or they have intermediate level class and they have all different color belts. When they're all doing Taegukgoljang all together at once and you're really breaking down and you're able to see and correct the students' techniques as they're doing Pumse or once they're sparring, that's when it's really effective because you're ensuring that the students are learning these forms correctly. Whether they learn it now to take a gojang and or 4 months from now take a what's the difference when the ultimate goal is for them to get a black belt,
Yes.
right?
Yes, sir.
So by the time they get a by the time they get a black belt, the more important thing is for them to learn that 태극 5장, 태극 6장, 태극 7장 correctly
It's,
versus you're a one man show and then you're kind of overlooking, oh, this kid is doing 태극 4장 and 6장 and 7장 and there you can't, because you can't be three places in the school at the same time at once. This kid's technique on 태극 4장 is a little off, 태극 6장 is a little off, and 태극 7, and you can't correct it because you're a one person teaching the class without any staff supervision. The power of the rotating curriculum is you as the master instructor is ensuring that every one of your students is doing that pumse correctly, because by the time they become a black belt, they're a more complete student, better technique student, and they were taught properly student. Because that's the ultimate goal. Who cares about the journey of when they learned it at year one or year 1.5? Because after 3 years, that ultimate goal of a black beltship, you want them to be a more proficient black belt student.
yes, that's correct. So I don't know how everyone structures their black belt testing. In the traditional way is that you have to know all your forms, right? But when they get to the higher ranks, what happens? They forget all their forms, right? So then you have to go back, reteach them everything. We don't run it that way anymore, but rotating curriculum can help because you're rotating some of the curriculums that you have previously learned in the past. And also, what I like to point out is that when everyone is doing the same move at the same time, when it comes to something like forms, it really makes it look good. Because if you really take one student and it's okay, Johnny, let's perform and do forms. It's okay, they're taking it step by step. But when you got 20 people working at the same time, doing the same form, the class energy just it's completely different. And plus, if you have 20 students working the same form at the same time, if one person makes a mistake, it's easier to spot the mistake, right? So you go over there and you're like, oh, okay, this is what you need to correct, right? And then you move forward. The energy is to me the most important thing in class. With this rotating curriculum, it just has boosted my energy in class so well, and it has implemented the many aspect parts of it where it's so much easier on my staff to manage because we're talking about class management here, right? So much easier for my staff to get them ready for testing, easier for my students because they're not juggling all over the place. And then parents, they really love, enjoy watching their kids because the energy in the class is just contagious.
Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking optically, right? When the parents come in and they're checking out the class, how their kid's doing, and then you see four different belts all doing their own pumse, all doing their forms, and one says sparring or break, whatever it is, all separate. It looks a little chaotic, right? Versus when they come in, and everybody's doing their forms crisp and looking good, and optically it's very impactful. That's very true, Master Chung.
So,
I feel like, oh wow, the kids look great.
I trained in different martial arts too, and I was always fascinated with this new incoming martial art, Brazilian Jiu Jitsu. So when I was in college and post college, I did train in different arts, judo, jiu-jitsu. When I went to the class to see, oh, what's this fascination about? Why are people gravitating towards the jiu-jitsu? One of the things that I learned right away off the bat was everyone's doing the same thing. You walk into a class, everyone is working on the same thing. So you have one warm up, one technique of the day, and then you go into what they call sparring, in our term sparring, but you roll, right? So, and the synergy of the class was just, it was amazing. I was like, wow, this is something I can definitely bring back. And it was so unique that I was very fascinated. And it just drew my attention a little bit more towards the rotating curriculum, because if it can be implemented in a right way for Taekwondo, this can have a huge, great impact on the mat.
Was there a specific incident where it triggered you to be like, oh, we got to switch to the rotating curriculum, or was it just always in the back of your head? It's like, okay, now we're gonna do it. Was there a point at a time where it forced you into really thinking about and implementing the rotating curriculum, or was it just a gradual process that you knew you had to do?
It's a great question, sir. And yes, and that time was during testing, because I want my students to feel proud of their testing and their achievement that they have trained for and they will receive in return of their promotion. And there was a testing where I'm looking at Johnny perform and I'm like, oh, man, where did I go wrong? Because I gave my best effort to Johnny in the whole class, but his performance, because testing is very important. That's a stage, right? That's a stage to shine in front of his parents, in front of his teachers. We're not setting them up
Yeah.
for failure, but I want him to perform at his very best. And I know he can do so much better. I'm looking at him, he just completely blanked out on the form, board breaking, he missed. And I'm looking at, where did I go wrong?
And they always bring their grandparents, their aunts and uncles. They're so excited.
Yes, on this
That's the
particular
worst.
day, there was a lot of people, and it wasn't a low belt. It was a very intermediate belt. So where did I go wrong? I'm blaming myself as a teacher. You are not doing your job well. That's when it hit me. I need to come up with a better way, because people don't remember what you have taught them. People remember you made them feel. The feeling of achievement, the sense of achievement is much greater than learning Taekwondo. Learning Taekwondo is a process to reach that feeling, right? It's just a small journey. But that's when I said, you know what? I need to make some changes. I need to make some changes because we've been doing the same thing the same way. And it's really not just stunning our growth of our dojang, but it's stunning the quality of our dojang. And that's when it really hit me. A couple of weeks ago, I was just scrolling and I came across something really interesting. This gentleman, Harmon Poehler, he had in 1887 he had patented a machine that could make cinder blocks. And he said, "What? This is going to revolutionize the construction industry, the cinder block." And the only down thing was that it was 90 pounds. It was so heavy to transport up the stairs, move it around. So they complained and they said, "What? It's great and all, but it's so heavy." So 17 years later, he patents another machine. But this machine now has two holes. It can create two holes on the cinder block. It brought the cinder block's weight down by 30 pounds. It was better in bearing weight and installation. Easier to carry for the workers. I don't mean we should do less. That's not what I'm talking. I think there is a better way to deliver value. Cut the excess fat out, trim it down. Let's squeeze out what we can deliver in value. And that was my thought process switching over to the rotating curriculum. But in return was growth of the school, better testing quality, and less stress on my staff.
Going back to the implementation, you said you did the black belts
Yes,
first,
sir.
right? Just thinking about it, wouldn't the white belts through orange belts be a more easier because they don't know the system. They if you told the white belt, hey, we're doing rotating curriculum, they're not ingrained of the linear model, so they just think, oh, that's how it always should be. Wouldn't what do you I mean, having you have gone through the process of implementing on the black belt club students first, what about other school owners thinking doing it at the beginning level first because they don't know any better. They just think that's the way that's done, would be less resistant. Because the black belt parents, they've been with you for years. If you change something on them, they're like, why are we all of a sudden doing this way? They would have more questions than the beginners who come up. What are your thoughts on that?
Yes, sir. That's a great question. If you like to start from the white belt model, I'm not saying no. That's okay. Go for it. But why I did it with the black belt first was the first approach that I took in my mind was, okay, I'm not changing anything. That wasn't in my mindset. Because if I bring up change psychologically, that just throws everything off. They're like, change? What? Change? No. With the black belts, how I started was, you know what? Black belts, they are my students. They had been with me for at least 3 years and plus. White belts, yellow belts, sometimes green belts, they're still learning the process of becoming a student. So they're not really accustomed to our culture yet. So with the black belts, how I approached it was, it's not we're changing. We're actually started to teach for traditionally first dan black belt, you have one form in Taekwondo, which is Koryo. And you carry that form out until you go to second dan. It's too long. So what I did was, at the black belt, you're going to learn Koryo and Kumgang together. So you're learning a second degree black belt form at first degree level. So when you approach it that way, it's not like you're changing it. You're adding something that's new. But per cycle, we're going to work on Koryo. And in this testing cycle, we're going to work on Kumgang. At black belt level, I told them too, when you go to a tournament and sparring, it's not like you can say, you know what, I want to spar against just only first degree black belts. It doesn't work like that. When you go and spar, you're going to have to sometimes spar against second degrees, first degrees, or even third degrees. It's about the time you spent on the mat and the quality of teaching that you have put in as yourself that matters more. So that was the approach, sir.
That makes sense. And the black belt parents will follow you more because they also trust you. They develop years of trust with you. So they would have. But do you recommend, okay, so what about, okay, what about for school owners who wants to do the whole rotating curriculum all at once? Every belt, every level, every program that they have? Or do you recommend that they block it off by sections, black belt club first, then intermediate, then basic? Is it possible for them to do it all at once if they want to?
I'm sure it's possible. Going back to my original point was that you can't just implement rotating curriculum and not have the correct class structure, the current staff, and your pricing and program structure, and the environment that you're in set before you just implement it. And I think before you even do all of this, the most important thing is the right way to communicate with your parents and student body, and the trust that they have to implement this system of learning, that this is going to be a better enhancement, not just for the learning experience of your child, but the overall experience of going through through black belt. See, all these communications, this set stones, if they're all set in a correct time, in a correct way, yes. To answer your question, yes, sir. But you have to have all your ducks in a row. You can't just implement a change because you want to. For me, my feeling of wanting to implement rotating curriculum was truthfully very emotional, because during that testing, when Johnny could not perform, it really struck a chord. I wanted to walk out. I wanted to walk out of testing. That's how I felt. But before I wanted to make that change, that on Monday, I had to make sure, okay, let me approach it in a way where I can do this the right way so that if I were to approach, that can have a long-term effect and the betterment of my dojang and my students.
What about the rotation length? Do you do it every texting cycle? Is it monthly? Is it every 3 months, 2 months? How is the rotation length?
Our
How
te-
did you set that up,
our
Master Chung?
testing cycle is every 3 months, sir. So we have 4 color belt testings, and then we have 3 black belt testings.
Okay, so having done the linear and then rotating model, do you recommend every school? Is that your recommendation? If you're doing the linear model, if you're doing the traditional model, switch to rotating curriculum as soon as possible? Or do you see a linear model in place for school owners in this day and age?
Let's say you're a single school operator. You have a student count, I don't know, anywhere from 100 to 200 students. You want to scale to 300. I would say rotating curriculum is a must. It's one of the, I would say, important tools that are needed for better classroom management. If you are comfortable with the linear approach and that's the way you want to take it, I have seen successful schools that do it, but that would mean that you will have to either hire more staff or open up more classes. If you have a separate belt group for that particular class time, yes, the linear approach can work too. So going back, if it was for me, I would choose to operate with the rotating curriculum. And if it was a single school owner with a space of 1,500 square feet, 2,000 square feet, student body of 100 to 200 students, and want to scale up to 300, yes, definitely implement the rotating curriculum. But you have to implement it in a way where it works for you and not for others. I think that's very important.
That's a great aspect because even though the linear model could work for you now, it might prevent scalability as your school grows. By converting into rotating curriculum now, you're kind of setting up that pathway to scale to be able to have bigger, because sure, if you have 10 kids per class and you're there by yourself, yeah, you could divide up 5 students here, 5 students here. But when you have a class, 30 kids, 35 kids, you're not going to be able to do that, right? You're not going to be able to teach different one says sparring when a class full of 30 kids. You have to, you're almost forced to do rotating curriculum because there's no way you by yourself teaching 30 kids can teach different belt level curriculum. So
That's correct.
that's a great point, Master Jung, because then I'm just thinking in the classroom sense, having 30 kids and there's no way, and then it's a Pumse day and then testing's coming up in 2 weeks and you're there by yourself. There's no way you're going to be able to teach take a Yijang, Samjang, Sajang, and to all the different belt levels in that basic course, in that basic class, beginner's class. So to be able to scale, and if you want to grow and all of a sudden you're doing marketing and you're getting new students in and your classes become fuller and fuller and you're adding more students to your class, you need that rotating curriculum to handle the class size and keep motivating, keep teaching the techniques properly so that they will join your black belt club down the line, because then they had a great experience in the basic course while you're teaching. But if you're going left and right and up and down, they're less inclined to join the black belt club because they're like, oh my God, there's my kids are not learning properly. There's too many kids in the class. Maybe this isn't the school for me.
In my class schedule, I have them coming. I have a class offering for them. They're coming twice a week, and I have a class for them almost every day. Same thing with the advanced class, brown through double black stripe. They're coming to class together, and I have a class for them every day that can come to. And my class schedule is set.
Wait, you have a class for them every day, but they're allowed to come. They're allowed to come twice a week.
Correct. And the reason being is because nowadays you're competing with a lot of sports. And I wanted the last excuse to be, sir, I can't do taekwondo because I can't come. I'm doing baseball or other things. So I choose to open 6 days. I don't have to open 6 days. When you run your rotating curriculum efficiently, you can open 5 days and still operate a very successful school because you don't have to open as many classes. I choose to open six because I want to give my students plenty of options to come to class. Making twice a week, it's very easy because it's not even on a set time. Mine is a staircase. So let's say, for example, on my advanced class, I have a Monday evening class. Then a Tuesday, it's going to be an afternoon class. Then Wednesday, it's going to be a mid-afternoon class. And then Thursday, it's going to be an early class. And then Friday, it's going to be a late class. And then on Saturday, it's going to be a morning class. So I staircase it in a way so if they can't make one day at that particular time, they should definitely be able to make it in another day in a different time. So this structure has helped me greatly, not just maintaining the quality of our school, but retaining a lot of our students. Our attrition number is very low. I would like to say it's greatly above the industry average. I'm looking around maybe 2.5. So we have very few students that do drop out. But that being said, it wouldn't have been possible without a set in stone plan like this.
Oh, would you say that the rotating curriculum helped your retention rate then?
Oh, yes,
Is that
sir.
part of, or has your retention rate always been high? Oh,
Our retention rate has been okay, but the hardest thing with retention is it's harder to maintain retention as you grow. And if you do that
yes.
well, then your school grows. I think at certain points, let's say if you have a 10 students, you're going to have a great retention rate, right? But as your growth
Right, right,
happens
right,
at your dojang, you also need to maintain that retention rate. And that's how you grow. And going back to why I started with the black belts is because if you want to grow your school, it's not the white belts that's going to grow your school. It's not going to be the yellow belts or the green belts. It's going to be your black belts. The white belts and the new belts, they'll always cycle in and out. But the black belts, they'll always be there for you. So I wanted my focus and energy to create a solid black belt program for my black belts because these are the people that were going to stick with me for a long term. And that's why I implemented the black belt curriculum first. It was that I wanted to give them the opportunity. Hey, look at this. This is the structure that I have. Okay, we're going to carry this structure for your second dan, and for second dan to third dan to fourth dan to your mastery level. And when my black belt started to grow, my school started to grow. And that's when I realized, oh, this is very important to have a set curriculum and implementation for your black belts because ultimately your black belts will really be the determining factor in how well you maintain the growth of your dojang. I heard once that when you visit many schools, there are only two classes you should look at. First class is their beginner's class. When you look at their beginner's class, you can look at their marketing. How well does this school market? And then the second class you should look at is their black belt class. When you look at their black belt class, you can see how well they have retained their students. That's how school is successful. School is successful because they're great at in marketing aspect part of it, but also they're great at their customer experience and retaining the customers. And they're in this case, we are students.
Absolutely 100% correct, Master John. I mean, okay, last question, and then let's wrap this up because I mean, I could talk about rotating curriculum. As
Yes.
I don't know if you're aware, I had a rotating curriculum in my school as well. So
Oh
I'm
wow.
all about rotating
Oh, you
curriculum.
did.
Once I con
I'm
once I
curious.
converted, I was
Yes.
like, oh my God, this thing's the best. Yes.
How did you?
Unlike you though, unlike you, I just shotgunned it. I did the whole thing all at once.
Wow.
And I had a lot of exactly what you said, a lot of blowback from the parents. They're like, why is my blue belt 12-year-old son learning Taeguk Samjang? He should be learning Taeguk Gojang. I'm like, just trust me, right? And then after months later, they're like, oh, I understand now why. This is great, Master Rong. So I could have if I did it your way, Master Jung, I would have been a little bit more. If I planned it out a little bit more, if I communicated better, I wouldn't have gotten as many bumps during the thing. A quick question for you:
Yeah, yes.
Did you end up losing any students during your
Oh,
transition,
that's a great question.
or were you okay?
Not in my memory that we lost students because of switching over to rotating curriculum. I think our staff did a really good job. It's been a while since when we make that switch, so I can't recall. But if something happened during the switch, I would have remembered, but nothing to the extreme where it sticks to my memory, where I say, you know what, this wasn't worth it. But in my case, and it seems like in your case as well, the curriculum has helped greatly in growing your dojo.
I had to. I was forced to because I had classes that it was just me at that point at that time, and I had classes at 28, 33 kids,
Oh wow.
and and classes were so full. I said I couldn't add them when during signups. Parents were like, "Oh, can we come in Tuesday at this time?" Oh, sorry, no, this class is full. You have to be on the waiting list for that.
Wow.
But it was just me at I don't know why it was just me. It was just me at some point, and I had to switch to rotating curriculum.
So
So I shotgunned it. I just switched to rotating curriculum, and then I had 30 kids doing all the same in the intermediate class, all the same taekwondo's hajang, and then they had to do all the same breaking technique and all the same one-step sparring. So I had to do I was forced to do every curriculum based for that testing cycle. If it was an orange belt up at that time, then everybody do orange belt, and then after that they would do the green belt and so forth. So, but after I switched, I was like, holy cow, because you're absolutely right. I wasn't able to scale with the linear model.
that's right.
I was forced to,
Yeah. So
you know.
where did
So,
you have your school, sir? Where was your school located?
oh, it's Irvine,
Irvine. Oh,
Irvine,
okay.
California.
And then
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
and then
California.
when you were working as a single school operator, working the rotating curriculum, would you ever go back to the linear approach?
No, no way,
No way.
no way. I couldn't go back. The benefits of the rotating curriculum is too great, because by the time they were senior belt, red, high red, probationary, black belt, their technique was so much better than the linear model. Linear model, even though you saw several of the kids doing the technique wrong, you weren't able to stop the class and correct them. But when you have 30 kids in a class and you see 3 kids doing it wrong, and then you have everybody on on their knees, all right, guys, you got to do it this way because the technique is not wrong this way, and then everybody sees the correct way and then the right way. You're, I mean, you're essentially the technique wise and the performance wise, you're fixing everybody all at once. You only have to bring if you're doing 4 different quadrants of school, and then you're telling this kid quietly how to become better. The 3 other areas of the school, they don't see that. But when you stop the whole class and you telling one kid, not badly, but you're like, oh, this is great, this is okay, but if you do it this way, it's gonna be better, and then they do correct that way. You're putting a spotlight on the kid as he improves. Everybody gets to see it, and they get to see beforehand what not to do and then how to fix it, right?
The,
And it only takes 30 seconds.
the linear approach makes a lot of sense if you're coming to class almost every day, like how it's in Korea, right? You go to Korea,
Yes, yes, yes.
you,
Every day you got to
you have to
go.
go every
That's
day, right? And
yes.
if you take that same model and bring it to students that are coming twice a week at most in the States, it's hard to compare, right? And for those students that are not just Taekwondo, or for those owners that are not just Taekwondo school operators, but karate or different martial arts, this is a great tool that even different martial arts can use, right? It's not just Taekwondo. Rotating curriculum can be used in many different martial arts, and if implemented well, I personally think it's one of the best things that was ever created. I wonder who created it. I always wonder. I was like, I wonder who started the rotating curriculum,
Yeah. I
right?
don't have an idea. I have, yeah, we need to find out, and then
Yeah.
we need to I have you come back
If
and then tell everybody who created it.
who created, because I want to give credit. I want to give credit to who started the rotating curriculum,
Yeah.
and
I think his name is Mr. Rotation.
secretly it's Master Jimmy Hong. He started the whole thing. He said it's like Bitcoin.
I wish.
And he started the whole thing.
I,
We don't know who
I
started
wish. You're right. What the Bitcoin creator, the Japanese guy, I forgot.
it. Yeah,
But you're right. We don't know.
we
Let's
don't know.
find it. I'll find it. I'll find out.
Oh, would you?
If anybody knows, if anybody watching or listening, please message or email or contact me. Let us know who created the rotating curriculum because I would
Yes,
very much like to know.
I'm very curious.
And then, let's, Master Jung, why don't we have him on the podcast? Invite him on the podcast, and you
Oh,
and I can
that'll be
ask
great.
him.
I would love to pick his brain
Yeah,
on how this works.
yeah.
And one of the other things that it's very small detail, but it helped me tremendously was in the linear approach, the way we do in order matters a lot. You have in Taekwondo, you have to learn the first form, to learn the second form, to learn the third form, the fourth form, and etc. And we give it a name in Korean. 태극 1장, 태극 2장, 태극 3장, 태극 4장, to differentiate the order of the form. So when I was in the linear approach, I would always say, okay, the first form, okay, the second form, the third form. But when I switched over to the rotating curriculum, even in the written thing, I don't write first, second, third. I just write the Korean name. 태극 1장, 태극 2장, 태극 3장. Because for my students, they don't know if 1장 is the first or 3장 is the third, right? I just implement it. When you actually do 1장 is a very hard form for beginners.
It is.
It's a very
It's
hard
very
form.
hard.
It's a very challenging form. It's
Yes.
one form where you change direction so many different times, right?
Yes.
But my point is, the name is no longer correlated with order. The name of the form is just the name of the form, and it is implemented basic level or our intermediate level, things like that. So for students that are just coming on, it didn't confuse them. But if I were to put an order in the form, let's say, okay, we're gonna learn the fourth form at yellow belt. So like, what? The fourth form at yellow belt? Sir, why are we learning the fourth form at yellow belt? This confuses everyone, right? So just call it.
That's a great point. So make sure when you're calling the form name, call it 태극 2장 and not 태극 number 2, right?
Yes, sir. Don't call it by order. Just call it by name.
Don't call it in English number format. Call it in a Korean name.
Yes, sir.
태극 4장, because nobody's only the Korean students will know.
But if you tell them,
it's a great tip.
If something like that comes up, but actually, if you perform the form, 태극 1장 is not an easy form.
You're right.
And also the basic forms. What did you teach the basic form, sir? What was your basic form that you taught before you went into 태극 1장?
It was just long stance, down block, middle punch, high block, high punch. Just straight single line, the 4 steps.
Okay, straight single line.
Basic form number 1 or something.
So
right, all long stance, no walking stance or no back stance or anything like that.
How did the students transition from the basic form to the first form that you taught? Did they all transition well, or did they have a hard time?
I want to say it depends, I guess, on the athletic of the student, ability of the student. But when they see the whole class left, wherever they look, left, right, front, and back, they're all doing the same movements. They have no choice to but follow that movement.
Yes,
right?
Correct.
So when they're a white belt, and then they're all of a sudden they're doing 태극 3장, whether it's first time or the 10th time, obviously the first time they don't do it well. They're very lost, right? But as you go over and over and over, they get better and better, like anything. But in the beginning, no. To answer that question,
got it. So
they did not
why I
transition
bring
well.
this up is because a lot of people talk about the set belts and how they go from white to yellow, and so on. But very few people talk about the transition period, the transition from green belt to blue belt. That period is actually during the transition time is where I notice there's the most dropout. It's not like so what I'm trying to say is, how well does your beginner curriculum transition well into your intermediate curriculum? And that itself is a curriculum within a curriculum, because now you're setting your beginner curriculum. So if I want to teach 태극 2장 next to my white belts, how are you preparing your white belts to learn 태극 2장? When they get to the next belt, learning 태극 2장 is much more smoother transition. But when there's a hiccup in between that transition, no matter how well of a curriculum you have developed, there's a high likely chance that student's going to drop out.
But isn't that transition the same as learning? Let's say you're going to yellow belt through orange belt, right? From Taeguk to Ijang. There's a transition period in any level going from one belt to the other. Wouldn't that be the same?
Yeah, but if you go from 1장 to 2장 and never learn face block, let's say you never learn face block.
Oh, right.
Right?
Yes, right.
In a smaller scale, right? That might be a
yes.
difficult transition for this person. If you never learn face block and all of a sudden you tell them, okay, do face block in a form. The biggest transition is from the hardest time when they're learning like double knife hand. 태극 4장. 태극 4장 is a very difficult form. All the hands are open hand strikes. But before you learn 4장, let's say the last form that you picked up was 2장. To go from 2장 to 4장 is a hard jump. So how you as a teacher transition that within the class structure of your rotating curriculum is ultimately, truly the success formula to make all this work. That's where a great teacher comes in.
Yeah. That's a great point, Master John. Awesome point. Well, let's conclude there. I mean, Master Philip Jeung, thank you for sharing your insight and experience with us today. The rotating curriculum is one of those topics that really challenges how we think about our structure, consistency, and long-term student development. I think you gave everyone a lot to reflect on. To our listeners, if you enjoyed this episode, make sure you subscribe to Black Belt Banter on YouTube, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Leave us a review or comment. We'd love to hear your thoughts on how you run your curriculum at your school. If you know who created the rotating curriculum, please message us. Let us know who it is. We'll research and confirm and validate that. And then hopefully we'll get them on the show. And as always, thank you for being part of the Black Belt Panther community. Keep leading, keep learning, and keep your students training strong. Until next time, have a great one, everybody.
Thank you, sir.